What makes someone one of the most disturbing serial killers in history? Is it the chilling calmness, the creepy double life, or the sheer number of victims? In this video, we'll dive into the top 10 serial killers who didn't just kill, they terrified the world. From notorious serial killers who inspired movies to creepy serial killer stories that still haunt us, these are the 10 creepiest serial killers ever, and their dark legacies are far from forgotten. Number 10. Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy is often remembered as one of the most horrifying examples of how appearances can be incredibly deceptive. He appeared to be an average individual at first, affable, well-spoken, savvy, and even considered attractive by many. He was politically active, had a history in law, and was skilled at using deception to get out of sticky situations. That's what made him truly creepy. In the 1970s, Bundy traveled across several U.S. states, luring young women by pretending to be injured or asking for help. He had on a fake arm cast or walked on crutches, asking for help, which made people let their guard down. When they offered their help, he would overpower them and take them hostage. The actual number may be much more, but he later confessed to killing over 30 women. What makes Bundy so disturbing is how normal he looked and acted. Although he didn't seem like a monster, he was capable of committing terrible acts beneath that charming facade. His ability to win people over and then betray them is still one of the most terrifying aspects of his story. Number 9. David Parker Ray, the Toy Box Killer. David Parker Ray, also known as the Toy Box Killer, is one of the most chilling figures in true crime history, not just because of what he did, but how he did it. From the outside, Ray appeared to be just an ordinary guy from a small New Mexico town. But beneath his everyday persona was a terrible secret, a soundproof trailer he called his toy box. This trailer wasn't filled with toys. It was actually a torture chamber packed with the devices and tools he used to hurt and control his victims. Ray abducted women, tortured them for days or longer, and kept them as prisoners. What made everything even more horrible is that he recorded many of his crimes on audio and video. He even played an audio message to his victims when they woke up, explaining what was about to happen to them. Although no bodies were ever found, authorities did find notebooks in which Ray listed as many as 60 potential victims. The fact that he might have committed so many crimes without being caught for years is deeply disturbing. The cold, planned, and bitter aspect of Ray's actions was what made him quite unsettling. Number 8. Joanna Dennehy. Joanna Dennehy stands out as one of the few known female serial killers, which already makes her case rare. Her story is really unsettling, though, considering the way she committed her crimes coldly, confidently, and without the slightest regret. In 2013, in the UK, Dennehy killed 3 men in a shocking killing spree. She didn't act in desperation, fear, or revenge. She claimed to have enjoyed it and done it because she wanted to. She is much more disturbing, owing to how composed and even happy she was afterwards. According to reports, she joked and laughed with the police, telling them once that she was bored and only wanted to kill someone. Professionals described her as extremely dangerous, cunning, and intelligent. She even persuaded 2 guys to help her in trying to hide the crimes because of her strange ability to control others. The scariest part? She showed no guilt, none at all. She is one of the most creepy killers you will ever hear of because of her total lack of emotion and her ability to blend in while masking such darkness. Number 7. Dennis Rader, BTK Killer. One of the most creepy serial killers is Dennis Rader, often known as the BTK Killer, an acronym for Bind, Torture, Kill, partly because of his ability to blend in with the people around him. For nearly 20 years, he lived a double life. During the day, he served as a church leader, a husband, a father, and even a compliance officer in his local community. He seemed like a normal, trustworthy man, but he was planning and carrying out some of the most horrific crimes behind closed doors. Rader killed 10 people between 1974 and 1991. He would bind his victims, torture them, and finally kill them. It was a brutal technique. The fact that he enjoyed playing games with the police added to the disturbing situation. He even dubbed himself BTK and wrote them letters detailing all of his crimes. After years of silence, he started sending letters again in 2004, which eventually led to his capture. The most terrifying aspect of Rader was his perfectly normal demeanor. He wasn't a stranger hiding in the shadows. He was just the guy next door. That hidden wickedness is what truly makes his story so chilling. Number 6. Edmund Kemper, the co-ed killer. One of the most terrifying serial killers in history is Edmund Kemper, popularly known as the co-ed killer, not just for what he did, but also for how composedly he later spoke about it. Standing at 6 feet 9 inches, he was an intimidating presence, but he was scary for reasons other than his size. It was the way he killed and how deeply troubling his thoughts were. Kemper started young. He killed his grandparents when he was just 15. He killed 6 young women who were hitchhiking after being released years later, and then his own mother and her friend. The way he handled the bodies afterward, keeping them for disturbing reasons, acting necrophilically, and even describing it in cold interviews, is what really terrifies people. Even more disturbing was Kemper's apparent intelligence and composure. After turning himself in, he made lengthy, in-depth confessions that have since been used in research on criminal psychology. He appeared to be intelligent and articulate rather than crazy or unstable. What makes him so terrifying is the combination of his intense violence and his cool-headedness. Number 5. Alexander Pichushkin, the chessboard killer. One of Russia's most disturbing serial killers is Alexander Pichushkin, often known as the chessboard killer. The twisted reason behind his murders is what makes his case very disturbing. He wanted to kill 64 people, one for each square on a chessboard. For him, it was more than simply violence. It was a sick game that he was determined to win. Pichushkin operated in Moscow and often pretended to be friendly to lure his victims, who were typically weaker members of society, such as the elderly or the homeless. He offered them to drink with him, usually in a park or a quiet, wooded area. Once they let their guard down, he would attack, often using a hammer to kill them. Then, sometimes he would try to hide the evidence by disposing of their bodies in sewers. Although he later confessed to killing at least 48 people, some think the death toll may be far higher. What's especially chilling is how proud he seemed of his crimes. He even recorded his murders on a chart. Pichushkin is one of the most disturbing serial killers the world has ever seen for his cool-headed, calculated approach, viewing murder as a game. Number 4. Tsutomu Miyazaki, the Otaku murderer. Tsutomu Miyazaki, often called the Otaku murderer, committed crimes in Japan during the late 1980s that were so disturbing they shocked the whole country. He kidnapped and murdered 4 young girls, all under 10, between 1988 and 1989. But what made his crimes especially terrifying were the things he did after the murders, acts of necrophilia and even cannibalism. Miyazaki lived a double life. He was quiet and reserved on the outside. The moniker Otaku Murderer came from his obsession with horror movies and anime, but there was a seriously disturbed person below that calm facade. He didn't just kill, he taunted. He sent letters and disturbing photos to the families of his victims, adding psychological pain to their already unimaginable grief. His lack of emotion when caught was one of the most disturbing aspects of his case. He showed no real remorse. His acts were intended to instill fear, anguish, and confusion, along with taking lives. Tsutomu Miyazaki is one of the most horrifying serial killers in history for his heartless, emotionless demeanor and the brutality of his acts. Number 3. Ed Gein, the Butcher of Plainfield. Ed Gein, known as the Butcher of Plainfield, is one of the creepiest figures in true crime, not just because of what he did, but because his crimes were so bizarre that they inspired some of the scariest characters in horror movies. Gein appeared to be a shy, harmless man who lived in a small, quiet Wisconsin town, but the world was stunned by what the police uncovered in his house. Gein not only killed, but he also dug up graves and used bodies to create decorations, clothing, and furniture. He made lampshades out of skin, bowls out of human skulls, and even a suit out of a woman's skin. All of this was discovered inside his house, hidden away behind closed doors. He stated he wanted to become his dead mother, whom he was deeply attached to, and his acts were part of that obsession. Even though Gein only confessed to killing 2 women, his account will never be forgotten for the way he treated the bodies, his quiet, hidden insanity, and the way his twisted world ultimately served as an inspiration for movie villains like Norman Bates and Leatherface. Number 2. John Wayne Gacy, the Killer Clown. One of the most horrifying serial killers in American history is John Wayne Gacy, sometimes known as the Killer Clown, mainly due to the startling contrast between his true identity and his outward persona. In public, Gacy was a friendly, well-liked man who dressed up as a clown named Pogo and performed at kids' birthday parties and community events. He was seen as helpful, humorous, and cheerful, but there was something genuinely terrifying hidden beneath that colorful costume. Gacy secretly lured teenagers and young men into his house in the 1970s, where he assaulted and murdered them. He buried 26 of his victims right under his house and discarded the rest nearby. He killed at least 33 individuals in total. What makes Gacy's story so creepy isn't just the clown mask, it's the way he completely hid his true nature. He had friends, ran a little business, and lived in an ordinary neighborhood. No one suspected the horror going on behind closed doors. John Wayne Gacy is one of the most terrifying killers of all time because of this contrast, the clown's smile on the outside and the monster inside. Number 1. Harold Shipman, Dr. Death. One of the most terrifying serial killers in history is Harold Shipman, popularly known as Dr. Death. Not because he lurked in the shadows, but rather because he was a respected physician and wore a white coat. From 1975 to 1998, Shipman was a respected general practitioner in the UK. He was someone people turned to when they were unwell, someone they believed would help them get better. But there was something horrifying concealed behind that trust. Shipman gave his patients lethal amounts of painkillers, often without anyone knowing, to quietly murder them. The majority of his victims were elderly women who had total faith in him. They believed he was there to take care of them, but in reality, he was killing them in secret. He is considered one of the deadliest serial killers in history, having killed over 250 people throughout his career. What makes his story so creepy is the betrayal. Instead of using weapons or lures, he used medical equipment, compassion, and a soothing voice. Unaware that he posed a threat, people welcomed him into their homes, their lives, and their last moments. That abuse of trust is what makes Harold Shipman truly horrifying. That was all for today. Do not forget to like and subscribe to the Suspense Room to unlock more stories.